What's up, everybody? How we doing? Happy Friday, October 4th. A little bit late hopping on today. Hope everyone's doing well. Hope you guys are doing well this Friday. Hope everyone is hanging in there with all the energy that is going on. If you are watching this live, let me know where you're tuning in from in the comment section. I would love to hear where in the world you are, Carmen Sandiego. So let me know where you guys are watching this from in the world. If you're watching it live, if you guys haven't already subscribed to my channel, I would love it if you guys would subscribe to my channel. We are going to be doing these lives every Monday and Friday, 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for the foreseeable future. And if there's a change to that schedule, I'm going to let everyone know when that change comes. But yeah, much appreciate everybody. So today, what we're going to be talking about is how to heal unworthiness. We're going to be talking about unworthiness because there is a whole lot of shit going on in the field right now. And so I thought we would just sort of jam on healing unworthiness. So right now, and everyone's talking about these different eclipse seasons and, that we're in sort of this portal, we're in sort of this bridge moment where we're moving into, a whole new space. And so I thought I would just sort of jam a little bit on what's happening right now in the collective of healing unworthiness, and particularly at like an ancestral level. So right now we're trying to heal unworthiness, and it's coming up at an ancestral level. It's our stuff. It's the stuff of our ancestors. It's stuff from the collective field, stuff that's more sort of impersonal. And so basically our body is getting totally gobsmacked by all this energy right now. Right, so all this energy right now is kind of circulating, and it's all about the purpose of healing unworthiness at like a deep ancestral level, which means that it's going to show up in the space of like anguish. It's going to show up in the space of tear. It's going to show up in the space as despondence. I don't know if I said that word right, but it's going to show up in the space of total like this really, really thick energy that is trying to move through the body. And we're like, what the fuck is this energy? Where is this sort of energy coming from? And this energy was just basically dumped into the space. And you guys, ancestral energy always wants to move through the crown. Ancestral energy is always wanting to move through the crown. And so what's happened is the field just gone bombarded with all this energy, and it's moved into the space because we're trying to cut like a really, really big ancestral cord. So if you're noticing a lot of symptoms that are coming up around the face, around the eyes, around the jaw, around the inner ear, around sort of the third eye, around the face, like my face has been just like, I have so much stuff going on here. And what that means, you guys, is that we're cutting a really big cord in the ancestral realm. There's a big sort of karmic cycle that is being completed in the ancestral realm right now, the quantum field. So it means that there's a really, really big cord that is being cut. And so in order to cut that cord, what has to happen is all the material has to come up. All the material has to come up. So what's happened is we're cutting a really big ancestral cord, but all this material around unworthiness, around anguish, around self-loathing, and guys, my crown's starting to go really crazy. That's why I'm talking like this, just because this is like how I'm wanting to speak right now, because my crown is really going crazy today. But so we're cutting a really, really big ancestral cord. We're cutting this really, really big ancestral cord. So many symptoms coming up here. So many symptoms coming up here. You're also probably going to notice a lot of stuff in the chest, a lot of stuff in the solar plexus, a lot of stuff in the stomach. It feels very like here, all the way down to our feet, but down into our sacral and our root, really. So like really like the whole front side. It's really like the whole channel. The whole channel is really trying to fully move into a certain level of frequency and vibration. But all this sort of stuck, this thick energy around unworthiness is coming up right now. And so the way we enter this idea, you guys, of unworthiness, the way that we work with unworthiness, right, is really, if you think about it, it's like the tender underbelly of our pain. It's unworthiness is everything. Why don't you pursue that business? Because you don't feel worthy. Why don't you ask that person out? Because you don't feel worthy. Why aren't you in more joy? Because everything can revolve around unworthiness, right? And so the two modes that typically happen with unworthiness, and the way that sort of the generational patterns and generational cycles around unworthiness sort of perpetuate. Imagine we have this like ball, this really, really tender ball, which is like this gooey sort of center, which we could call the center of unworthiness, right? Deep in sort of our tissue, deep in our heart, wherever you want to say it is. It's this sort of gooey center where we don't feel worthy. And so typically, obviously, human nature, what are we going to do? We're going to protect that unworthiness, right? And so the two default patterns where humans, when essentially they come up to this unworthiness, the two default patterns are one of two things. We either attack, like, fuck you, like, you don't know anything. Like, think of someone when they feel threatened, their pain is going to be exposed, the tender underbelly, they want to attack. They want to curse. So what it does is it creates a self-inflation. I'm going to inflate. Let's inflate, right? And so an inflation is one way of responding to, this era of arrogance or attacking, right? It's a way we're moving into an inflation or a projection from the gooey center of unworthiness. The other option is that we hide. So think about it, you guys, when unworthiness comes up, typically what happens when unworthiness comes up is guilt and shame. Shame is probably going to be one of the most common emotions. Same with grief and fear. So think sort of shame, grief, and fear, right? Think of all these different things. When you feel really unworthy, what comes up? You're embarrassed. You feel unworthy. You have a lot of fear that people won't like you, that you'll be exposed. And you have a lot of grief, right? A lot of like sadness in just how you relate to yourself and just the pain that is holding here. Right. And so we create a self-inflation, which is attack, or we create a self-deflation, which is to hide. So think about how you deal with shame. Some people deal with shame by getting really aggressive. I'm going to move into a place of aggression. Some people deal with shame where I'm going to move into, I'm a piece of shit. I'm going to move into like internal self-loathing. It's a self-deflation. So essentially it's down or up what happens. So the ball of unworthiness right here. And the reason why it's so challenging right now, guys, is because we're dealing with this at a generational level. Our stuff is going to be mixed into it. So what happens, you guys, when generational things come up is that maybe things come up in your life, but the material you're accessing feels disproportionate to maybe what you're working through at a personal level. So maybe at a personal level, you are working through some things, but then the weight of what we're dealing with is so fucking big. The weight of what we're dealing with is so big. It's like, whoa, like what the fuck is this? It feels disproportionate. That's because a story is playing out in our lifetime that carries the energetic and emotional and trauma weight of the ancestors. That's what's happening right now. Is there's a manifestation in the field in our space right now. Think about an iceberg, right? Think about an iceberg. You can only see this much. And so say if you saw an iceberg and you were looking at it, the iceberg as an emotion, right? Okay, all we can see is that, but there's all that other stuff underneath. And so when we begin to kind of move more into it, we're like, holy shit, what the fuck is this? There's so much more that I didn't see. That's what's happening at an energetic and emotional level. It's like our personal manifestation of the unworthiness wound right now is like an iceberg sticking out of the water, and it's trying to reveal, and we go down into this cord to reveal this really deep, gnarly sort of epicenter, this gnarly epicenter. And so it's really generational. And so what's trying to happen, you guys, is there's a generational pattern that's trying to be broken in the field right now. There's a generational pattern that's trying to be broken in the field right now. And so a few things happen with this, right? So how do we break the generational field? Well, we think about it. Self-inflation, attack. Self-deflation, I'm going to hide. Typically, how we perpetuate unworthiness is through a projection or through holding on to shame, which is essentially gridlocking a deeper pain and a deeper story, right? So shame is what we call an inhibitory emotion. It is gridlocking a deeper emotional experience. So typically our shame was a way that we actually protected. We actually protected from having to feel the emotion of that unworthiness and that pain. It's kind of like this defense mechanism that the body moved into to kind of mitigate something. You know what I mean? To try to mitigate something. But what's happening right now in the field is that our shame is actually not able to work its defense mechanism in the same way right now. The wound is coming. It's gushing. It's gushing. The wound is gushing. So the typical ways that we would defend against unworthiness, we're not able to engage in right now. So the self-inflation, the self-deflation, if we move into those, we perpetuate the cycle, okay? So meaning when the unworthiness comes, this is why we're having things like suicidal ideations, because what happens is it's a manifestation of a self-deflation mechanism, that I'm going to self-deflate, that shame is going to be responded. And the suicidal ideations are so strong, you guys, because what's happening is we're dealing with, the crown's going crazy, we're dealing with ancestral energy at such a big level. So the suicidal ideation is because we can't hold the experience. We can't, our body and our defense mechanisms, we can't hold the experience of unworthiness in the body. So the suicidal ideation is a way that we're trying to course correct. And what it really means is we're breaking so many generational patterns like that. When suicidal ideations come up, timelines are collapsing like that. And so, you guys, the typical ways that we respond to unworthiness, we can't use those defense mechanisms. Shame, self-loathing, internal aggression, I'm a piece of shit, self-inflation, I'm going to attack other people. You know, think about someone when they're going to get exposed or something, they go in the attack, right? They go in the attack, right? So it's either hide or attack. Those are the typical ways. Whenever human beings, whenever there's a light that's being shined on the unworthiness, or it's going to be exposed, we contract, or we have to self-inflate to get bigger. And these are both course corrections the body is trying to move through. But what it does is it keeps the generational pattern that's happening. And so again, as I said, guys, that the ways that we typically would gridlock the experience of unworthiness is not working. Our shame can't hold this. Like, I kind of see it right now as shame, but the unworthiness is so looming. The unworthiness is so big. Like, it's literally a head to toe transmission right now, where we're purging this massive layers of unworthiness and ripping the cord out from the generational and ancestral patterns, so that we can hold a different frequency in how we move through the world. So, okay, guys, so the typical way that we respond to unworthiness is we attack or we hide. And so another way, you guys, that we protect against the unworthiness wound is story. So think about someone in a trauma spiral. What is someone when they're in a trauma spiral? Ultimately, what it means is they're filtering a reality through their story. And I'm not saying that to discredit people's trauma, but what I'm saying is they're somatically being hijacked from an experience that hasn't been healed in the body. So now they're filtering all reality from a past experience, right? This is why in order to move into intuition and truth, we have to move a certain level of our own sort of trauma through our body so we can connect with God. But when people are in a trauma spiral, they're viscerally being hijacked by a past experience, and now they're filtering their current reality through that past experience. And they're having like a total misconstrued perception of reality because of that trauma, right? And so what happens is human beings, we're constantly filtering our reality through story, right? Think about it. You're like, oh, I'm gonna message someone, but we're all of a sudden in this, we're making up stories about, oh, what if they don't want to speak to me? Oh, they haven't met. We're in stories. Stories is how we ultimately, whenever that unworthiness wound is going to gush, we project into a story. So stories are the ways that we keep these generational patterns happening, right? So we're trying to move out of a story, right? We're trying to move out of a story. So when we're in story, you guys, we're hiding or attacking. We're self-inflating or we're self-deflating. And so God is in the middle. God is in the middle. So this is why when unworthiness comes up, let it kill you. Let it kill you. Let it destroy you. Let it move you deeper into your body. Let it move you deeper into your heart. That's how you heal the generational pattern. You don't fight. You don't hide. You let go, surrender, and allow the wave to wash you open. Allow yourself to be exposed. Allow the beating heart of your humanity to be on display. This is how you heal it. Human default patterns when unworthiness comes up is that we're going to move into hiding or attacking. We're going to move into a story. When you surrender, now what's happening is the transmission is the generational unworthiness is being washed through the heart chakra to create a different experience with how we interchange with our reality and how we interchange with the world at large. What it's actually trying to do, where we're trying to go, what is trying to come through, the inverse of unworthiness is not I'm worthy, I'm great. It's actually that I'm neutral. I'm in a space of neutrality. Neutrality is very synonymous with surrender, meaning we don't have to fight. We don't have to hide. We're in this space of neutrality because we're allowing the transmission of the ancestors in the generational plane to wash through the heart chakra, where we're ultimately dealing with such a core root. This is how you become unfuckwithable. This is how you become uncancelable. Uncancelable is that you allow it to kill you. You allow it to wash it through the heart chakra. And now there's no aspect of yourself that you're not uncovering. There's no stone that you're not turning over. What happens, you guys, when you're in this space, you move into more of a God vibration. You move into more of a God vibration. What I mean is neutrality. Neutrality. Think about the kind of neutral witnesser or the neutral sort of observer where you're just seeing things play out. You see their trauma, you see your trauma, you see how the two stories intersect. You're sort of witnessing things from a different wavelength. This is what happens when we move into more of an energetic vibration of God. It means the charges of the unworthiness are beginning to dispel from the body. Which happens is our nervous system moves into a new space of regulation, a new space of rest and digest, because we're not on, think of unworthiness, guys. It's a perpetual sort of threat response where the body's always got to be on guard. Am I going to be, there's this threat. Am I going to be found out? But when the unworthiness moves through, it's a deeper sort of rooting into sort of the parasympathetic nervous system. And so we're going through a big cleanse right now. And so when you see things more neutrality, what it means is someone doesn't like you, you're able to hold that. When someone's angry at you, you can hold their pain. Someone's angry, you upset at you, you can literally, in a neutral vessel, be able to see and hold their experience. I understand why you're angry with me. And you can hold, you're not filtering it through story, right? Think about it. In a relationship, this happens to men a lot. The woman is angry at the guy. The guy wants to go on defense. What he's fighting against is unworthiness, that he doesn't want to be made wrong, that he doesn't want to experience a level of injustice. He wants things to be fair. Ultimately, he wants to be seen. And so if his girlfriend's angry at him, he feels it's exposing a level that he's not good enough, right? But really what she wants, obviously, in that situation is just to have her experience be seen, right? Just for him to be able to hold the fort of the experience and not filter it through story. This is what's happening right now. So say someone's angry at you, you don't go on, you hold the frame of the space and you don't filter it through your story and you can actually see them. You guys, this is where generational patterns shift. The great tragedy in the human experience is that whenever unworthiness is kind of, it's going to be revealed in some degree, we have to hide or we have to attack. We can't just go there. And if we go there and we let it kill us and we surrender, we alchemize. And now we move into a space where that unworthiness can actually heal and the cycle's broken. Projection into story, shame, all these things gridlock the generational patterns of unworthiness, so they can't actually heal. And so they keep going and they keep going and they keep going. And so right now it's this opportunity where when this unworthiness comes up, are you going to let it kill you? It's surrender. It's another version of death right now we're experiencing. When suicidal ideations are coming up in the field, what it means is that we're trying to alchemize some sort of internal death. Some death is happening, and usually it means is there's some big, deep experience is trying to be buried within the body and the vessel. And so we have to let it kill us. And when we do, our body can hold a new level of exposure. This is what I call the path of the tender warrior, where you can connect with the deepest, most wounded aspects of yourself, but you can still be in the fire power of creation. And you can protect this aspect. You see the most tender, wounded parts of yourself, and you can still protect yourself there. You don't need to run. You just hold the fort, right? Think about it. When unworthiness comes up, what it kicks in is a threat response in the body. It kicks in the survival mechanisms of the body. And so we're experiencing a sort of configuration of the survival threat response of when unworthiness comes up. What do? It's like a squirrel in the middle of the road. Let the car run you over. Let it kill you. If you do that, there's going to be something so big that's going to alchemize from it. More importantly, your whole system's going to let go. Your whole system's just going to fucking let go. Your whole system is just going to surrender. And you're going to move into more of this sort of vibrational plane where you can hold something. You can hold a level of exposure in your life. Now, what happens is we can both witness the self-deflation and the self-inflation. And so now, how we interchange with the world is alchemized through a heart chakra where the generational unworthiness is moved through. Now we can become more of this heart-centered warrior. This warrior where we can be in our deepest woundedness or wounding and still feel worthy. Still feel worthy. When you can hold this space, you can alchemize anything. Think about what happens relationally. You always return to love in this space. You always return to love in this space. And when you return to love, what it means is you're returning to creation. You're moving actually back into a space of neutrality where you're holding the whole field, right? So guys, the inverse or opposite of unworthiness is not being worthy, it's being neutral. It's being the godly observer of the whole field. When I say neutrality, guys, what I mean is that you can hold the whole field. What I mean is that you can actually hold your pain and you don't need to filter it through your story. And when you can hold your pain and you don't need to filter it through your story, that means it's healing. When you move into a story, that's how your body's protecting and projecting. But when you actually hold the unworthiness and don't filter it through a story, you sit at its doorstep. Now it's being alchemized. This is happening at a generational level right now in your fucking body. This is happening at a generational level so that this field, when I say this is the ancestral field right up here. And it's dropping, it's dropping, it's dropping. And it's trying to alchemize through our chest and our stomach. Stomach, fear, chest, grief. Here, attachment. Attachment, grief, fear. Right? And shame's all a part of this sort of this concoction. And it's just all trying to be filtered through so that our entire vessel can hold exposure, that we can hold wide open, that we can be connected to our deepest wounded parts, and we can also protect ourselves here. And we can be neutral. This is how you become unfuckwithable. This is the path of the tender warrior. You don't need to attack here. You don't need to hide here. You're already so exposed within yourself that you can allow it to all come. You allow it to all come. And people can sense this. People can sense this sort of alchemy and creation in you. When you're holding an experience of the field completely, you can see when people are in stories. You can see where people are in self-inflations of trauma or self-deflations of trauma. You can see where people are filtering their reality through their story. You can feel it in the alchemy of the embodiment and what happens in the words. And so what's happening, and if you see people doing this right now, it's because the unworthiness of the ancestral realm is getting prodded. It's getting poked at. And so most people move into a default strategy, which is I'm going to go live in a cabin in the woods. I'm not going to talk to anyone. I'm going to cut off communication. I'm going to isolate myself. I'm not going to post on social media. I'm going to stop working, or we want to attack. Right? We want to move into this vibration, this self-inflation that we're this great one, or that we want to attack other people. We want to prick and prod at other people, and we're missing the opportunity. We're missing the opportunity to break the cycle. That's how generational patterns happen, you guys. This is how victims of abuse become the abuser. The unworthiness, the trauma of the experience comes, and they attack from the gushy center. They're in a protection agency of the trauma. I understand that trauma is horrendous, and it's such a difficult experience to have to move through and re-experience and feel in the body. But just because we're a victim of abuse doesn't give us any sort of liberties to then become an abuser. And so what actually happens here, guys, is we live in the energetics of forgiveness. This is how you change your past. This is how you live with no morsel and degree of regret in your life. You are living the path of forgiveness. And it all starts with the agency and how you relate to yourself. In every moment, you're not giving yourself a free pass. You're saying, we need to be better in certain ways. Maybe I'm out of integrity in this way. Maybe I got to course correct this behavior. Maybe I'm not showing up in my power in this way. You call yourself to rise. You call yourself to rise, but you're living in an agency of forgiveness within yourself. This is why if someone's angry at you or upset with you, you don't filter it through your story. Because you're washing through yourself in such an agency of, I forgive my little boy, my little girl. I see my hurt, my pain, my wounding. But I need to be better in these areas. I need to be better in these areas. And so you see the wounding, but you do live in this agency of forgiveness. And that's why you can hold space for other people, even or having the energy towards you. You don't have to, there's not a charge from your own internal unworthiness. There's not a charge. You're in more neutrality. Okay, how can we create something here? How can we create something? How can we get back to love? How can we move back into an energy of creation? How can we do something here that doesn't perpetuate a cycle? How can we do something here that allows everyone to prosper? How can we do something here that allows everyone to grow and alchemize and to better deeply root into themselves on their path? Neutrality. When you heal unworthiness, you live in an energetic of forgiveness. You don't dwell on the past here, you guys. Shit happens and you alchemize. You alchemize because you're able to move to the deepest strand of the unworthiness. You see the unworthiness there. You see it. And you don't fight against it. You bring it in. You drop into it. You descend into the heart of it. And so now what happens is, because when people go into a self-deflation or a self-inflation, or they hide or they attack, they miss the opportunity to heal the unworthiness. They perpetuate generational cycles. Right now is a generational fucking rupture. It is a generational attachment cord cutting. That's why you're feeling it in your face. That's why your crown's going crazy. We're trying to break such a big generational cycle. And when you descend into the unworthiness, when you descend into that unworthiness, you break the pattern. You break the cycle. You don't lose out that opportunity to heal and alchemize it. And so when people are moving into some projection, and we're filtering right now through stories, maybe we're not ready to heal this right now. But this is this pivotal convergence point where what's going to happen is you're really, really going to move into an even more authentic timeline for yourself if you can alchemize this unworthiness, and you're actually going to feel worthy of it. Your body's going to be so much energetically lighter. You're moving so much density from the field. And so when you alchemize and you move into that, you move into a space of forgiveness. You forgive yourself and you forgive other people. Now you totally change your fucking relationship to the past. All you are is how can we create? All we are is how can we create? You're not living in the past, right? Like, think about it. They always say anxious people are worried about the future, depressed people are ruminating about the past. If we think about really what that is, ultimately just what that is that the unworthiness that we had felt in the past, we haven't been able to move through the body. Because what happens, you guys, the link to past regret is the cord of unworthiness, right? So what actually happens is when you descend into the heart of your unworthiness, you know the stories where you're like, I wish I would have done this 10 years ago. I wish I would have done this. Well, you didn't feel worthy enough 10 years ago. You had too much unworthiness you were holding in your fucking body. You weren't able to move into that space. So when you descend into the heart of your unworthiness and you alchemize it, you shift your relationship to the past, and you can see why it didn't happen. And you actually don't even ruminate there, because that unworthiness that you're holding, you feel is fucking shifting in your body. And so you don't even think about the past. You're like, whoa, this is what's happening internally in me. The link and cord to the past has been removed. And when people are in depression, they're in a gridlock where this emotion can't fucking move. This trauma can't move in the body. So we're stuck in a past experience. Really what's happening is we're stuck in an imprint of unworthiness from the past. Now all you can do is create. Think about it. When people, guys, are in stories, think about people. They're bitter, right? People are fucking bitter. They're bitter because they're recycling the past. They're recycling the past through a story. And at the core of it, there is unworthiness that is wanting to alchemize and fucking move through the body, but they can't get there. And so they're depressed. They live with regret. They go to their deathbed and they have all these regrets of the things they didn't do. When you go and descend into the heart of this, when you don't attack, when you don't hide, when you just surrender, into the heart of it, let it wash over you. Let it fucking wash over you, which is what's happening right now. When you do that, you heal your relationship to the past, you move into a space of creation, and you break the generational pattern. This is what happens, guys, for generations and generations. People are living in this rumination of the past, this longing. It's all this unworthiness that has created these experiences that they haven't been able to get to. And so we live our whole lives with looking in the rearview mirror of everything that we didn't do, everything we didn't create. And what that means is we had an opportunity to purge and cleanse this unworthiness, and we weren't able to. We didn't feel safe enough. We weren't at a point in the embodiment where we could go there. We had too much fear. We had too much pride. But in this space, and so whatever's happening in your life right now, even if it's hard, this is all trying to alchemize a creation experience for you. It's trying to alchemize a creation experience for you. It's trying to bring you to a space that you've always longed for, that you've always dreamed, but you just have to surrender and let it kill you. When you feel like you want to hide, don't. When you feel like you want to attack, don't. Put the sword down. Come back into the light. Stand there. Root there. Even with your flaws on display, that you are worthy. When you go there and you alchemize through the heart and you live in energetics of forgiveness, now you break a generational pattern. You're no longer looking with your eyes in the rearview mirror. You're looking straight ahead. Let's fucking go. Let's create something. And you do so in a way that feels good. You're not doing in some ego inflation. You're doing so in the energetics from a space of neutrality. And you move into space. How does everyone win? How do we alchemize and create something? And relationally, you move back into a space of love. Always back into a space of love. And you're in this energetics of forgiveness, you guys. This is how you break the generational pattern. This is how generational patterns persist. The unworthiness wound, there's flashlight being shined on it. It's poked and prodded. We run away, or we try to be so big that it won't be seen. We try to throw people off course. We try to derail them from being seen. We don't want to be exposed. Be exposed. Show people your shit. Let it kill you, and that's how you become free. Now what happens is you move through the world as a free man or woman. You are free. And so now your energetic vibration can be one of levity, can be one of ease, flow, light. Your nervous system can hold a new level of rest and digest. The threat response of the generational plane has been purged. We've purged that threat response. And in that space, we've already seen everything in us. We've already seen everything in us. We don't have to attack people. We don't have to hide. We've gone there, and people, it's like, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's create something. And so it's radical ownership and accountability. But you're not doing so in a way of berating yourself. You're doing so in a way of radical ownership and accountability of forgiveness. When you remove the charge of unworthiness, you become the manifestation of forgiveness. You become the manifestation of forgiveness. You will no longer have regret. You will no longer dread over the past. You will firmly look forward, because when you're in the past, again, it's because there's strands and cords and threads of unworthiness that are still tied to these past memories. But when you purge, when you remove that charge, you can be in more of a space of neutrality and hold the whole field. You can see why it didn't happen then. You can see yourself so clearly and purely and truly. And you can witness people that are able to meet you here. If someone can't meet you here, guys, then they're not ready to move onto this vibrational plane, this way of this returning to love. They're not able to meet you here, and so you have to let them go. You're moving into a different paradigm. This is what's happening. It's a split that's happening right now. We're purging the generational pattern. And so a lot of people, what happens is they reaffirm down into the generational pattern, or they cut the motherfucking cord. We either go deeper into it, or we heal it and we cut it. This is why our face, attachment, grief, fear, everything here is all about attachment. We're cutting a cord, you guys, with the generational ancestors. That's why our crown is it's dripping down, because we're trying to just shed all the density that is here for our soul's manifestation. And we have to clear the vessel in order to do that. We have to become this vibration of ease and light. You connect with your deepest parts and you protect yourself here. You're in a space of neutrality here. You can see the whole field. Right? Now you don't need to attack. You don't need to hide. You become unfuckwithable. You can't be canceled here because you've already seen every single part of you. And you're not only that, you're fucking alchemizing it. You're moving into this energetic frequency of forgiveness within yourself. And you're alchemizing it within your heart. So you know inside of yourself how you're showing up and what is happening within you. It might not be perfect. It might be fucking gnarly, but you know, God knows. And now in this space, you can be more neutral. You can just, and you can create. Now what happens, you guys, you don't get blown off course. You don't derail. If you do, you come back to the center quickly. You move back into a space of creation quickly. If you do get blown off course, you find your way back to the path fast. And you don't derail and beat yourself up. The generational patterns happen when we get derailed off course of the soul's highest calling and the soul's main vibrational plane. We get derailed off course and we move into story. Self-deflation, shame, I'm a piece of shit, internal aggression towards ourselves, self-inflation, attacking, projecting. And then we go so far off course that now we have all this regret. I regret how I showed up then. We miss the opportunity, the moment to create. So this experience right now, it's trying to move us back into a vibration of being the holy creator within ourselves in every moment. And we can come back faster. And when we do that, we move through life and we can find the moment that changes everything and we can seize it. We can find the moment that can change everything and we seize it. And now we really start to feel good about the way we're showing up within ourselves. Even if it's messy, even if we have hiccups along the way, with the way that we continue to come back to ourselves in this way, it feels so authentic and it feels so true and pure within us. And we know when someone can't see that, they really, really can't see us and they can't see this paradigm that we're operating in. This is when you break the generational pattern of the ancestors. The ancestors are trying to descend through your body, be moved back into the earth, to the graves, to be released so we can move into the divine creation. They're trying to release back into the earth all the unworthiness, all the anguish, all the terror that they held, all the wounding they moved into a self-inflation or a self-deflation. All the ways they couldn't surrender is trying to be manifested through us right now. Can we seize the moment that could change everything? And we have to let it kill us. We have to let the moment kill us. Seizing the moment is surrendering to the moment, which means letting the moment kill us. Letting it hit all the way in the heart. Letting it move and be washed through the entire vessel of the body. And when we do that, we become a divine creator and we move into a space of levity and ease in our life that breaks all these generational curses and patterns. So we break the cycle. And it's happening right fucking now. This is why it feels like a microcosm initiation, because it is a death. An initiation is a death, an energetic, emotional death at some level. That's why the suicidal ideations come, because it's our body's way of trying to flee from the death, right? It's a threat response. You know, it's a version of hiding. The suicidal ideations are a version of running away from the death. Rather than letting it kill us, we kill ourselves. Allowing the moment to kill us is how we seize the moment. And we allow something new to be born through us. And something brand new is being born through us right now. And we have to understand that everything that's being alchemized right now is preparing us for something that we're here to do. And we need to wash it all the way through the body. All these generational threads and cords of unworthiness. All the times the ancestors couldn't move to the heart of it. All the ways the ancestors couldn't surrender and let the moment kill them. We have to allow all their moments now to move through us and let those moments kill us also. That's why it's so heavy right now. It's a microcosm initiation. Our body's trying to surrender to this death so we can move into a space of divine creation. We have to surrender to this death right now. Let it alchemize through the heart. It's a full body purge, you guys. Attachment, grief, fear. It's all being alchemized into this whole descending embodied concoction of this great generational purging right now. And we move into a space of forgiveness. We don't have to run away. We don't have to attack. We can stay right here and let the light shine down on us. And we can be more neutral. We can see the ways that our ego intervenes and tries to orchestrate in our creation. We need a healthy discernment of our ego to be able to believe that we're worthy, but we can kind of reintegrate it. And how do I use my ego in a way where I can actually be of service through my energy here? How can I actually just eradicate the ego in such a way to allow myself to be of service? Let the moment kill you. And then you will become the embodiment of forgiveness. You will become the embodiment of forgiveness. And you will change generational patterns all through your body. And that's what's trying to happen right now. That's how you heal unworthiness. You don't attack. You don't hide. You let it kill you. You surrender. And you alchemize and wash it through the heart chakra. And when you do that, you break the pattern. You heal your relationship to the past and your ancestors' past. All through your body, the past, the regret becomes alchemized through you. Through the charges of that unworthiness that you let kill you, move into more of a neutrality, you guys, more of sort of the gentle observer and witness, where you can hold the whole field and you can see when people are in their stories. And you don't have to prove anything here. You just are. You don't have to prove anything here. You just are. Someone doesn't see it. They don't see you. They don't get you, and they're not supposed to get you. You can sit in the misunderstanding of others. You can sit in the disappointment of others. You can sit in the anger of others. You can sit in the ways that at certain times and things you've been out of integrity. You can sit in all of it. And you can come into the heart of it and forgive yourself. Not let yourself off the hook. Call yourself to rise where you need to rise. But you can do so tenderly and lovingly. And in doing so, you totally change the way that you relate and interchange with the universe as well. And you finally bring your ancestors home. They move out your feet. They descend back into the earth, back into the graves. And now your body fully becomes yours. It fully becomes your shrine, your church, your cathedral. You really finally become the Holy Creator. All right, everybody. We went somewhere there. Funny, because in the middle of that, I was like, oh, I know the download that was supposed to come through this passage we've been in for the past month. I get it. I got it. I fully got, like, I know what I'm being prepared for. And I literally had the download as I was in the middle of that. That's pretty wild. Like I felt the embodiment of it, and I knew what was trying to happen. So Ursula, this is a sermon. Damn, Jamie, you went off. You spoke about everything that happened over the last week for me. Yes, so happy that it resonated, Ursula. I mean, I'm sorry that you've been having to go through this challenging time, which I know a lot of people are. But I'm happy it resonated, and everything that was included here. This is what just everyone is just telling me they're going through as well, and what I'm going through in my body. And yeah, it's a microcosm initiation, and it's preparing for something really, really big. But I'm happy that resonated. And so, guys, seize the moment. Let the moment kill you. I don't mean for that to be morbid, but that is spiritually what's trying to happen. Really what it means is hold the fort and just really kind of like feel everything that you're having to feel during this time. I'm glad because I know I'm on the brink of something new. Thank you, Jamie. I felt it in my body. It came through as you were speaking. It made sense. So happy, guys, that was the case. That was very much a kind of more of like an embodied transmission that hopefully, if it was effective, that you guys were able to have resonance in your bodies. And really, that's how we ultimately heal, right? Is when our body makes a connection. When it becomes a body first discovery. You guys know, like, it's not a cerebral discovery, it's a body first discovery. Like, it lands and imprints in our body. And so there's a really, really big deliverance that's coming. But think about what happens in deliverance in human nature, guys, is we claw and we fight, we fuck up. We claw, we fight, we fuck up. When deliverance is coming, that's when the human struggle really begins, right? Because it's not human nature to move into a space of deliverance. And so I think we need to, when we're moving into a space of deliverance, allow it to not be pretty. And I think as human beings, we need to allow the deliverance to be messy. We need to allow the deliverance to not need to look a certain way. That's where the forgiveness comes. That's where the humanity comes. And we understand, right? And there's a vulnerability in that, right? Because when everything needs to be perfect, when we fight, things have to look a certain way. We live in a perfection. It's the aversion to intimacy with the self, which is a rawness, which is the whole spectrum of the human palette. And when deliverance comes, we fight. Yeah, it's totally agree. It feels like a deep free dive. That's totally what it is. It's like you got to jump off the cliff. Like, we're jumping off the cliff. Like, a really, really big deliverance is happening. And a lot of it right now, and the download that came as I was kind of going through that transmission, you guys, was that what's happening is what's really being purged right now is really trying to, like, remove some of the biggest pieces of ancestral interference that are not allowing us to carry out the way that we want to live or what we're here to do, how we're here to relate relationally, how we're here to love, how we're here to show up. So these cords that we're cutting are really, really big cord cutting with the generational patterns that are not allowing us to live a certain way, the way that we want to, the way that we know we're capable of. And so the deliverance is the ancestors go, and all of a sudden now we fully remember who we are. Like, we fully remember ourselves as a divine creation and what we're here to do, and sort of a divine, to be of divine service, and what we can create through our body and our vessel. And so the deliverance is coming. I've felt the deliverance coming this week. It hasn't fully come. There's lots of cobwebs still, but it is coming. And always, we know the microcosm of the initiation is proportional to the deliverance on the other side. And so there really, really is a big deliverance that is happening. And in these times, we just have to hold faith for that. And we have to just really allow ourselves to really go inward right now, to really be gentle with ourselves, to try not to berate ourselves, and really, really just hold the space, because deliverance is coming. So everyone, thank you so much for listening to this transmission, which was basically kind of a sermon on healing the unworthiness wound and collective unworthiness in the field right now. If you guys like this video, give it a like, send it to a friend who might need it right now, or might resonate with it, or might have a connection to it. And subscribe to my channel, you guys, if you haven't already. Again, we do these lives Mondays and Fridays at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, moving forward. So that's it from me here, you guys. I hope everyone has a lovely weekend, and hope this landed, and hope you're able to take away something from it, and hopefully it brings a little bit of levity back in the space for you. Thank you, Robin and Urzula. Much love, you guys.